Welcome back to Rockstock Channel. It is Monday, July 15th, and we are back with the next installment in our Getting to Know You series with an update from Alicia Milne, CEO of Q2 Metals, who we first profiled on April 10th. Q2 Metals trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, ticker symbol QTWO, and on the OTCQB exchange, ticker symbol QUEXF. Q2 is focused on hard rock lithium exploration in the James Bay region of Quebec, and has had some positive exploration success since it kicked off its spring drilling campaign in May. The company also announced a $7.5 million capital raise next week, which should be completed at the end of this month, bringing its cash balance to around $9 million. As a reminder, Rodney and I are not strategic advisors to nor invested in Q2 Metals, and we are not financial advisors, and nothing in this video should be considered investment advice. Please do your own research and read the disclaimers in this video. Q2 stock price today is about 26 cents, down from 31 cents when we first recorded in April, in line with the falling lithium price and general bear market sentiment for lithium equities. Q2's market cap is currently 28 million Canadian or 21 million US dollars. You can follow Q2 Metals on X at Q2 Metals and also on LinkedIn. And don't forget, if you like this and other Rockstock Channel videos, please subscribe, like, and comment on this video, and hit the notification bell to be alerted when future videos are released. And you can follow Rodney and me on X at RodneyHooper13 and at Lithium-ion Bull. And with that, I welcome back Alicia to Rockstock Channel, and we'll leave it to Rodney from here to begin the Q&A.
Right, thanks, Howard. Alicia, you've recently closed the option agreement on the 100% of the Cisco property. Can you just please refresh our memories on the amount of immediate cash and agreed upon shares to do the deal?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me back, guys. We recently closed the Cisco acquisition deal. We announced that in February, and the total consideration for that was 60 million shares, $2.5 million, and exploration expenditures of $12 million over the span of 4 years. So we closed it on June 12th-ish, I believe it was. And with that, we issued the vendors 20 million shares, paid them $1.5 million in cash. And the next payment is due June 2025 of 500,000 cash and then another 20 million shares. And then following that, June 2026 will be the final cash installment. And then there's another 2 share installments after that. So it's spread over the span of 4 years.
Just remind me, do you have any flexibility around being able to do shares for the cash consideration, or is that all hard in terms of payments?
At this point, it's just cash. There's a cash portion and the share portion. We haven't discussed that. I mean, they're already getting a big chunk of shares, so I'm not sure they want to have more shares. I'm sure they do, but at this point, we'd be looking at just paying the cash and issuing the shares as per the agreement.
And so, yeah, I was thinking about the balancing numbers. So you've paid the 1.5. So your current cash balance and the money you're getting in, it'll total about 9. That is post paying the 1.5 million that you've already done that.
Yes, yes. And of that cash that we have coming in from that private placement, it's going to be a substantial amount of that's going to be flow through money. So I think there's about $5 million that it's coming in on flow through. So that'll be spent directly in the ground.
Right. And now that you have secured the Cisco, you've had some fantastic drill results, confirming and extending previously encountered mineralization. The mineralized zone, you extended to 750 meters, I think it was, in early July. And more recently, you've disclosed there are now 15 spodumene pegmatite zones on the property. Can you give us a detailed update on all those announcements?
For sure. So we got out to Cisco at the end of May. I think it was May 29th. And we were able to hit the ground running. To this point, today, we've drilled now 12 holes. We're just finishing up the 18th hole. And yeah, we've gotten about 3,500 meters in so far, which is really, really good. And the visual results of those holes are quite amazing. We've hit mineralized pegmatite in every single hole. I think in one of our announcements, we announced that we hit, what was it, 194 meters in one interval. In one interval, that was 86.6 meters of spodumene pegmatite. So yeah, it's going really well. And we've been also doing our mapping and sampling at the same time. So that's sort of guiding where the drilling is going. We're able to be flexible and move the drill sort of following what we're seeing. And they've got, you know, lots of outcrop that the geologists are looking at. So it's been really good. It's been quite amazing to be a part of this. I'm looking forward to seeing what the assays bring.
And just to refresh everyone's memory, Alicia, this is, you're hitting these intervals from close to surface or at surface, a lot of it.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, clearly that's hugely beneficial. And if I'm not mistaken, the grades are also substantially above 1 in most instances.
Well, we haven't announced grades yet. We're still waiting on our assays. But, you know, because you can actually see the pegmatite in the drill core, you know, for us, it's a visual sort of program. So we can see it. We know it's there. It's just a matter of sending it off to get assayed to get the final confirmation on what the actual percentages.
Right. And is what's the sort of timing on that?
Post closing of the financing, we'll be starting to issue our assays. So there's 8 holes in right now. The other 4 that were just drilled are in the process of being logged and cut, and they'll be sent off to the lab probably by the end of this week.
And the turnaround typically on that is?
The labs tell us 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean, our experience with Mia this past winter, the samples were taking 8 to 12 weeks for assaying. So, you know, we're hoping to get something back relatively soon because we sent the first batch, I believe it was mid-June. So potentially be tracking right on to or the beginning of August, mid-August, to start releasing assays.
And you mentioned you know, the capital raise and the private placement, it was 5 million underpinned by the charity flow through. If I'm not mistaken, the price was 47.5 cents. So that looks like a substantial premium to spot. Roughly, what was the uplift for you?
Well, the uplift, the delta is based on the market price at that date, and then it's essentially the tax value that's being applied to the market price of the financing. So in a charity flow through financing, the front end user gets the tax breaks from the flow through shares, plus they're donating it to a charity. The charity then sells it to a back end investor that we've already identified and the shares are placed with.
But the uplift is feels like it's not quite 100%, but it's quite a big lift to where the share price was at the time. And so you mentioned, so with the flow through, the agreement is that gets spent in the ground, 5 million. That's a lot of meters. Is that the plan? Is that to keep going with Cisco?
Yeah, absolutely. The plan is to get back out there and while we're still there, but to just continue on with the program. I mean, Neil and his team have been hitting pegmatite, and we just want to keep the program going. So the plan is to do approximately 12,000 meters. That would take Neil and his team through to probably the end of October, beginning of November, to do about 7,500 meters. And then we're going to take a pause, let the winter settle in and everything freeze up. And then we'll get back out there in probably late January, early February to drill off the rest of the money that we have.
To do the balance. So, that's a good amount of meters and you're getting some great results. So when would you start to think about putting out an initial mineral resource estimate?
I mean, it's a little early for that. It's we just started working Cisco. Like, we have 12 holes in it. We've only been there for a month and a half. I think internally we're projecting potentially doing one at the end of next year or in the next year. But you know, it's just something that we're going to methodically keep going and keep building the story and keep building along the strike length of this deposit, hopefully.
And in terms of the capital raise, the balance above the charity flow through, what were the terms of the balance?
The balance of the financing, there's another $350,000 of flow through money that could potentially be raised. And then the rest of that is hard dollars. So there's about 2.155 million, I believe it is, that we're doing in hard dollars. And the financing is comprised of units. So every unit would consist of a share and a half a warrant. And the warrant, one full warrant would be exercisable at 50 cents for 2 years.
That's for non-exploration spend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could potentially spend some of that on exploration work. And we do get a refund from the Quebec government of hard dollars that we're spending in the ground. But yeah, that's potentially just for G&A.
And broadly speaking, now that will have about 9 million in the bank, how long with that drill program? That's good for what, another year, next year?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, knock on wood, everything going according to plan, that would probably get the team to maybe February 2025, potentially March. It all depends on the weather when we get back out there. I mean, we've been extremely lucky this year. There's been very little forest fires in James Bay area. So it's been nice to get working right away. Last year we had to wait, I think it was 3 months before we actually were able to get out there and get some work done.
Yeah, it was frustrating for all, but it just seemed as one fire stopped, another started. It was a lengthy. I'm sure everyone's more diligent. And I know it's kind of early days, but might at some point it be an attractive proposition for the company to look at a strategic partner to fund going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always strategic involvement. When you have a deposit, you need to have a strategic investor come in, or you need some sort of big influx of money to come in order to develop it and get it into production. So, it's something that we potentially look at in the future. It's probably still early days right now, so I'm not really sure what that would look like. But, right now we're concentrating on right now drilling, getting Cisco de-risked, improved up, and potentially weathering out the lithium markets here, and hopefully things will turn in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I raised at the recent conference. It's hugely beneficial if companies can move forward in this down cycle to be ready for the next up cycle and closer or into production. Obviously, is ideal. So,
yeah. And that's what our financing is for, is to get us to continue going and to prove up and de-risk Cisco, and then be willing and ready to move forward with it.
And from a local government perspective, Alicia, are they still good and supportive and helpful? You still feel that they're definitely looking to move things forward?
Yeah, absolutely. The Quebec government and the local investment funds that are based in Quebec, they're very supportive, and we've talked to them a few times, and they're there asking what we need. So it's been great.
Did you have any broker involved helping you with this financing, and who are the investor? We're just trying to get a sense of investor sentiment, who's kind of coming in, in this depressed market and still supporting.
Generally speaking, on the charity side of the flow through financing, because it's always use a sort of a pre-identified back end buyer for those shares. It's a group out of Australia that's backed us when we first acquired the MIA project. So they've been there all along, and they're very supportive for us. And yeah, so they're taking up the majority of the charity financing. There's also 2 Quebec funds potentially coming in on that as well. And then the rest of it is essentially, we went out to our previous supporters, our investors that are already in Q2, and gave them first crack at it and said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're seeing good results. And you guys were there for us a year and a half ago when we raised $10 million. Do you still want to be involved? And a lot of them are still in it. So it's been great to see the support out there by everybody.
Okay, well, that's great. You have loyal following investors, and then and again, the Australians seem to be smarter than everybody else supporting the sector in hard rock, and you got support from the Quebec government, and this is a very favorable jurisdiction for that. Just remind our viewers, where is Cisco in relation to, let's say, Corvette, Patriot, and Adina at Winsome? I just visited the Winsome property, and but I went to an airport, and then it was flown, and I took a helicopter. I don't exactly remember where I was situated relative to all the other projects, but we could put up a map here just to remind investors of that it's still a great place to find. There's a lot more high quality spodumene to be found. But yeah, where is Cisco relative to those?
Relative to those, we are south of all of those deposits. We are sort of at the bottom end of James Bay, what's classified as James Bay. So from the town of Matagami, which is essentially the start of the Billy Diamond Highway, we are 150 kilometers north of that. So Matagami is a historical mining town where, they used to service a bunch of different mines in the area. It's the end of the railhead. So that bodes well for us in the future if and when we, if we were to put this into production. I don't foresee it being an issue getting the product to the railway, or potentially there's talk about extending the railway all the way up the highway at some point. So, we're close to infrastructure. Like, we actually went up there for a site visit, and I was shocked at how quickly we got there. We flew into Val-d'Or, and we drove about 3 hours, stopped for gas in Matagami, and then we were literally in camp within an hour. So it was very well situated.
Okay. And just in terms of, I know it's still early, you're just drilling, and maybe you had strategic interest before, maybe not. I know that Rio Tinto, I think, made some announcement in Quebec not that long ago. I know SQM made an announcement in Sweden. I don't know if they're sniffing around in, in Canada, but just in general, any thoughts on corporate developments, either exploration wise or Quebec, or Canada, supply chain investment wise, that our viewers can be reminded about?
I think there's always going to be strategics or major companies in the area looking for projects. In this downturn, it's something that us juniors have to sort of be cognizant of, and they also have to be cognizant of because we don't have access to funds like they do. So, hopefully when the time is right, when the markets pick up, there'll be some juniors still there who have continued to do work and have a project that's viable for a strategic or for a major to come in and acquire or be part of. Yeah, I know Rio's quite busy in the James Bay area. I believe there's a few other ones, like you said, SQM is busy. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I didn't expect it. Look, we're in a downturn. We're waiting for the earnings results to kind of come out from all of the majors in the next kind of month or so, and there'll be more commentary from that. But the important thing is that you've been spending the money that you raised last year with good effect. You're able to raise more money to further advance your project, and that's what's important throughout this downturn. When the market does turn and sentiment shifts and people realize that Quebec hard rock is a good place to be, they're going to look at valuations at 28 million market cap and think like, okay, who's next? What matters? So, okay, great update, Alicia. Really appreciate you're telling our viewers. We introduced the story, like I said, in April, and appreciate your kind of coming back, and we look forward to having you back again in a few months' time when you tick off a couple more milestones.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.